Hey, what's up, JJ? How am I going to be inking this? Are you going to be... Yeah, I'm inking this right now. Gonna start here in a second. So, the actual, like, how do I say it? The art's done, right? But commission, I like to give a physical bit. So when I'm done drawing things, I like to just ink it so there's an inked version. So it's on digital. It's on digital. The colors are, I'm doing it backwards. So normally here's how it works, right? Normally people draw things, scan them in, and color them digitally. In this instance, I did my roughy lines and just colored directly over the roughy lines. But this is so whoever commissioned it has a physical piece of something to own. So they're going to get, I'm going to ink it the way I would. It's kind of backwards, but suffice to say, whenever I color my inked stuff, it looks like it's from 1997. Doesn't look all nifty and modern and shit. So it's backwards. Whatever. It's my my lot in life. How long did it take? I don't know. About 12 hours to color it. I imagine I could probably get that down to 10 or 8 hours if I kind of work on that. I don't really rush through it. Let's see if I can just a little bit better. If I was a better artist, perhaps I could do it the normal way. This is cans, and you can ask as many questions as you want, JJ. Don't stress over that. I can draw and talk. This is Kansan Media XL. Kansan Media XL. I get like a ream, it comes like a blue wire bound Kansan Media XL. It works for my watercolors and for ink, so I just prefer to stick to one paper type. When I sketch, I like to sketch on just basic copy paper, but he tried to do this, but it didn't work that great. Try to do what? Color or ink your stuff? Ah. Hard to do. I try to draw with the planes and the three-dimensional planes in mind when I'm drawing. So there is a certain level of like you kind of see it, you know what I mean? Like your mind has to like see it before it kind of works. It's weird. Yeah. That's why it's like it's really disingenuous with a lot of tutorials. I'm like, oh, you just do this and then that's it. It's like, no, there's a part of it where your mind has to see it. Even if you're completely aware of what you're supposed to be seeing, you actually don't see it yet. Like you're like, oh yeah, I just see the planes. I know the planes. That's three. I did, but I didn't learn any of this in art school. I learned how to do photo editing, video editing. I went to the Art Institute for 2D animation, and I spent most of my time doing 3D and video. So, all this stuff I taught myself. So I don't recommend it. Of course, they're out of business now, so it's a waste of $70,000. I learned all this streaming on YouTube over the years. Oh, I appreciate it. So this is how I did the Final Fantasy VII piece, where I did all these roughy lines and then I just drew it and then I colored it in, but I'm doing it backwards now, where I do the roughy lines and color those digitally, and then I print it out to do a physical drawing if I need it. Either if I want to sell it or for a commission. Because I'm just not good enough to do it the other way around. Or more to the point, the kind of work I need to produce for work requires it the other way around, so. Yeah, I have Sketch on there. I mostly use it for blocking in silhouettes for my comic book, but I don't really. I like Photoshop, and I've been using it since 1994 or 5, so 95, and my hand is linked to a keyboard while I work, and Procreate is just. It's just another way to get to the same result. So. I recommend newer people starting there, you know, but if you grew up using Photoshop, because I still have to do other things in Photoshop that Procreate doesn't handle, like processing images for print, putting everything into InDesign so that I can make books and magazines, photo editing, you know, like texture work, like it only gets me it only gets so far. So I just stick with Photoshop. Hey, what's up, Psycho? And I stick with the old ass Photoshop for now. So. Have you ever used Adobe Fresco to draw? No, not really. Like I said, man, at this point, I just stopped using new software. The only software that I'm interested in spending some time in learning would be ZBrush. I'm considering doing that, but right now I do a lot of writing, so I don't have a lot of free time for that. But that's it. I'm not going to be switching programs for drawing, man. I'm at the point now where it's like I need to make stuff, not continually use new programs. Let's see if they work a little bit better. Like, I can use Photoshop. Short of these programs actually drawing for me, I don't really get much benefit from them. Right. I just feel like that's what they're trying to get to. They're trying to get to where the programs just do all the art. Then I'm like, well, then what's the point? Like, and forget about saving time. Just like, well, it's either quicker to do this here. It's irrelevant when you have edits because it can speed things up all you want, but if it sits in a production pipeline, how much is Photoshop a month? If it sits in let me finish my sentence. If it sits in a production pipeline, you know, and it's constantly getting reworked, then speed's sort of irrelevant. You know, like there's a certain level of acceptable speed. That's why I've always appreciated Pixar's stance that they have 4 hours to render a frame. So like whatever, they could make a lot more movies if they put less effort into them and then just crank them out, because you obviously could produce a Toy Story 2 quality film. It's not going to take you 4 hours to render a frame given technology, but they keep upping the look within a 4-hour frame, right? So you create a box. You're not just continually making a ton of shit because it's faster to do, you know? Like, that doesn't really... Quality can't... And you know what I mean? Like, they know they can make a quality film with 4 hours of render time. Now, that doesn't mean they will every time, but they know they can. You know, 8 to 12, probably not as much of a discernible difference, right? 2, probably, definitely never going to get there. So that's the way I try to think about things. As for Photoshop, how much it costs a month, I don't really know. I use CS6, so I bought that a long time ago for like $600 or whatever, and I just stick with that. So I'm not even using the new Photoshop, you know? I've tried it when I think it was like 10 a month or something. I tried it. It just constantly crashed on me. So I went back to CS6. Yeah, so these programs you can't teach quality, nor can you really define it, you know? Like, you have to strive for it and then get things out in an acceptable amount of time and hope people resonate with it. That's it. That's all you can do. Now, I get people who would prefer to own an iPad and work on Procreate because they like to sit on their couch, or they want to be tied to their room, or they don't want to spend $2,000 on a Cintiq. I get it, you know? I get it. I have a slightly different approach. I like my work to be done in this room. So when I'm out of this room, I have my fucking life. You know? So it's a little bit different philosophy for me. Yeah, making it unstable, tons of new stuff. So it's like, I don't need new stuff. I just... Unless it's a different program. Again, like, if I was modeling, that'd be one thing, but... How do you print something on that kind of paper other than printer? Yeah, I have a Canon 1X6820. It's just a Canon printer. Just feed it at the top. I got the IX6820 because it has only 4 inks. 4 inks. So a lot of these printers have like 8 ink sets, and they use 8 inks to print a fucking red. I don't need that. I just need it to print like red or black. So it only has 4 inks. So and I can buy generic inks. I don't need the full quality fucking super high end shit. Yeah, but they added actions like a long time ago, man. It's almost 20 years old. Yeah, dude. Actions, like, they added that around Photoshop 6 or 7 or some shit. I mean, it's a long time ago. I need my software to work, man. You know? Whether that company is up and running or not. So, I don't have time for this. How big is the Cintiq? I used a 22-inch no-touch HD. I actually preferred the 20-inch they used to make back in the day in terms of the sizing. Not the heat. It got horrendously hot. They don't do it anymore. Brandon's just bought the 16-inch though. So he's going to let me know what that's like. I imagine it might be a little too small for what I prefer. I wish I could get another 20. I sort of feel it's a little too big. A little too big for me. 7. Right. Yeah, wow. How much was it? Not cheap. I don't recommend it for new people. That's why I'm like, look, if you're new, if you own an iPad, whether you make art or not, you're going to get a lot of use out of that. So it makes a lot of sense. But I was getting carpal tunnel around 2008 from drawing with pencils, drawing too hard. That's actually that's how I learned to draw with pens, too. I couldn't do this 10 years ago. But I bought the Cintiq so I could start tracing over my rough pencils digitally to save myself carpal tunnel. So I don't have it anymore. So the $1,800 or whatever much it cost me at the time was worth it. If you're in a metropolitan area, you probably could find one used pretty cheap. What pen am I using? This is a Copic multiliner, 0.03. They make reusables, but I prefer the plastic feel. The reusable ones use this like metal grip that I hate. Yeah, I'm not a brush pen guy, man. I've tried. I'm a technical, mechanical pen kind of guy. I draw little tiny details. I can't feel the nib with the brush pen. Never have. And this is just a Sharpie pen. can't really do it. I tried. Can't really do it. Just makes my art look chunky. My mind won't get around it. I love the way it looks when other people do it. When I do it, I'm like, I can't do it. I don't like the way it looks. How old am I? I'm 41. 42 this year. This year, I'm the secret. No, it's 32. Is it 42? The secret of the universe 42? If it is, that's me this year. Might be 32. Can you really use it? It is. It's in the info if you scroll down. Tool, it's under tools I use. Oh, you're only 11. Yeah, well, you got plenty of time, brother. Innovation with subs. Yeah, we didn't even have iPads when I was 11. I saw a drawing pen once on Mr. Wizard. Very rudimentary. Just know that at some point, whatever you do creatively is going to be hard, you know, and programs only solve certain problems. They don't solve creativity or quality, you know, and things are just going to take time. You have limits as an artist. Even though you grow, you always have limits. Sometimes you have limits as a subject matter or a project. Spending money doesn't solve the quality problem. What's up, Dom? So my goal is to get people to pay me for how I think, not for what programs or brushes I use. How much are some of my prints? They usually vary about $18 plus shipping. $8 shipping domestic, and right now, unfortunately, international shipping bump up to $19. I actually turned off international shipping a long time, a couple months ago, because I couldn't get any way to do it safely. But now I can do it safely, but it just costs me more money. So I got people who are like, "It's too much." I'm like, "Then don't buy one." Like, 'cause there's no way I'm going down to the post office and shipping this shit myself. Given COVID, like, it's not happening. Not happening. They're all on my Etsy store, though. Shopsketchcraft.com. You had a guy that was from overseas who wanted to get something, but he's like, well, the shipping's more than the cost of the print. I'm like, well, the shipping used to be $15, and it cost me really $17 to ship it, but I always just ate a couple dollars on overseas prints because I know you guys pay that and everything else. But it can't cost me $5 every time someone wants to buy something overseas. Like, I can't live in that world. So, you know. Sorry, things are going to be tough for now. Oh well. I don't really make money on prints anyway. It kind of goes towards like buying pens or... Used to go to coffee. Then my Ko-fi tips went to coffee, but now I don't go out for coffee, so it goes to paying for my bulk coffee. The occasional trip to the comic shop, but I don't get to do that anymore because they won't do contactless delivery. So. Let me look. Ah, I see. All right, I'll fix that. Here. I'll fix it right now. I forgot Brandon has to add that shit. But here, Here. I'm going to add it to the description right now, so I don't forget. To the live video. There, I added it. Yeah. I forgot what happened is there was a pre-made thing and it got reset whenever. It's a YouTube thing. I forgot. I got to deal with. I just forgot about it. So thanks for bringing it up. Well, always try to find what works for you, you know? What helps you create what's in your head. Don't be like, well, Sketchcraft used it, that must mean it's the best. It's probably the worst, but it's what works for Rob. You know? Plus, you're young, man, you know? So it's going to take a while to get to where you want to be. I wasn't a very good artist when I was 11. That's for damn certain. Even now, some days it's questionable. Alright, let's just get this fucking crazy shit done. Are you gonna be coloring all this too? I already colored it. So that's the thing, like, this is just the inks. So the final version of this is already up on my DeviantArt page. Like I said, I'm doing this backwards. So this is for the person who bought the art. I know, it sounds weird, but in real life, no, I'm not doing that too. I could, but I got other shit to do. I'm not going to spend another 18 hours coloring it by hand. Nope. I really only like doing color work traditionally for myself. I always feel a lot of, I don't know. I enjoyed some of the sketch cover stuff. That was fun. But it just takes me so long that yeah. And I'm not getting hired by anyone to do color pencil work other than fans, so it's best I save that for myself and for things I'd like to do for fun. But digital work I will get hired to do, so I treat a lot of these commissions as like stuff that helps me get work elsewhere too. So only makes sense to do things that are going to help me move the career forward. Otherwise, I'll just do it for myself. Cool part with this process is that this is how I did the Batman piece, The Dark Knight. So I could do something rough, do it like this, and then do a real fucked up way of coloring it so it looks cool. But that doesn't work for everything. Just kind of only works for like Batman, you know, or like really grungy American comics. So. I do have some Batman stuff I gotta do, so. I stream every day. I don't have a streaming schedule because my workload changes day to day. Best I can say, man, is follow me on, obviously here, and turn that little bell on, and then also on the Instagram or the, actually, you get updates on the, usually on the Twitter, no, Twitch would be a good way to follow too. Twitch updates pretty well. But yeah, I've tried to have, I'm gonna do here, but my work always Something always gets in the way of that happening, so. I stream often, how about that? And then I disappear for a while. When I'm disappear, that's when you know I got deadlines. I don't make announcements. I'm gonna be on social media for what? Like I just don't post. You know? Like I'm never going, you know, as long as I'm alive, I'm not going anywhere, so I will continue to stream, so don't worry about that. I don't like those social media announcements. Sorry about not putting a video for what? Like, just who cares, man? Just chill out. You know, people got lives. I can't keep track of all the videos I post, and I made them. So the way I treat this, man, is I just like, it's like, you ever see like those pizza shops that have like a window so you can watch them make the pizza? It'd be like that, only you could shoot the shit with them too. Like, that's how I treat the YouTube channel. Just an online portfolio. Like a workshop portfolio. Like, we can all hang out. You can draw while I'm drawing. You know, you could lurk. You know? It's all good, man. You know? I don't use the YouTube for money. They just don't pay enough, so there's just no point. When did I start YouTube? I started the YouTube channel in 2010, but I've had it since 2006. It was impossible to stream in 2006 artwork, but I was able to start streaming using Google Hangouts around 2010 or so. So I've been here for a while. So, yeah, 10 years and I got 16,000 subs, bro. This is never gonna... All the money in the... You know... And I don't believe in making, like, clickbait tutorials. Do this and you'll get... I don't want to do this to get clicks. I don't... The right kind of people will find the channel. You know what I mean? Everyone else... There's all of YouTube. You can go learn how to draw Batman's head somewhere else. I have done art to videos where people have questions, you know, but there's just not a lot more for me to add to it other than I kind of talked about that. So I prefer to just do it. Like if we want to talk about inking, let's talk about it while I'm inking something. You know? That'd be a really good time to have that conversation. So you could see me actually do it at a level in which I've been paid to do it. Not at a level in which it generates a YouTube video. Or a bunch of clicks on a YouTube video. What I do is whenever I complete a project, I will take all the real-time videos and mix them into a usually a 2-hour-long speed video, where I'll just and then I'll take questions and I'll do like a commentary, you know. Every time I ink something digitally and hit the layer under it, it looks like crap. Well, you're 11. Like, let's just start there. There's only so much you're gonna be able to do. What I would probably do is incorporate some of that rough sketch into your final piece. Leave it on. Leave the opacity on, maybe 20%, and clean up the edges. You know? So I leave a lot of my little rough stuff in there. I wasn't really drawing a lot of fan art when I was 11, though, man. The most I was doing was, on my summers, I would take a comic book and I would redraw every page exactly at size, you know? And I would do different styles to learn how it was done. And then, in high school, I would take those same kind of comics and I would break all the issues down into basic figures and construction, and kind of tear it apart and learn how it was constructed, the shapes. That's where I first started teaching myself about shape language. I didn't know it at the time, but I knew from watching enough guys at Comic-Con, or talking to enough guys at Comic-Con about construction, and seeing animation maquettes, like, and studying shapes, and then saying, okay, if I have this, when I was a kid, it was like Wildcats. If I had like a Wildcats comic or Spawn from an angle, what if I had that same pose, but it was from a different angle, and I'd rotate it and I'd reconstruct it. I wasn't worried about trying to create final images that impress people. I was learning how to draw, and it took me a long time. I didn't start producing any art that I was proud of until 2009 or 10-ish, around there. You know? And even then it took me a lot of effort. Like, so your ability to process what you want to see in your head down onto paper will vary depending on abilities. You know? Natural abilities. Sometimes a project doesn't call for tons of detail. Sometimes it calls for mood or storytelling and emotion. You know, to apply one way of drawing to every subject is not going to get you there. I would spend a lot, I mean, if I was 11 again and I knew what I knew, I'd spend all my time just working on construction, and if I was painting, I would be painting like the way I do digitally, where it's different surfaces and the surfaces are being lit. Plane shapes and surfaces. Because that information is going to translate regardless of whatever programs ever come out in the future. Short of a, like I said, short of a fucking computer doing it all for us, that knowledge in your head is going to transfer to everything. What kinds of pencils do I use? I put all the, in the info, there's a list of art materials. So the actual names are listed there. But for now, I pretty much just use this red pen. It's Pentel Red Lead, and this is Kuratoga. The reason why I use this particular mechanical pencil is it has a stabilizer here, so it doesn't break the nibs as easily. If you press a little, you shouldn't be pressing down hard anyway, but if you press a little hard, it won't break, which is nice. It can be a little fragile. And I'm just drawing here with the Copic multiliners. I did this under drawing digitally in Photoshop using a shitty brush. So. I streamed it. The videos will be live here in the next week. Brandon has to take the videos and give them thumbnails and make them live. So they'll be in the real-time art playlists. And we got to make a commentary speed video at some point in the next couple weeks. What brush do I use in Photoshop? Mostly a hard round brush. Basic hard round for drawing. Set to about 70%. Sometimes I use a pencil brush that I got from Lin Chen. You can find her Gumroad. She's got these like pencil brushes that are kind of nifty. But it just depends on how my mind is seeing some days. Like some days that makes no sense and the basic round brush makes more sense, and sometimes the pencil brush makes sense. But either way, it's the same basic brush, whether it has a texture or not, at about 80%. That's it. That's all I use for drawing. Sometimes an oil brush, it's the hard brush just squished down. That's it. Just helps with certain angles. I did this with the pencil brush mostly. I guess this is more of a playful style. It depends on what I'm drawing. I wouldn't say my work on Spyro is graffiti. This is more of like something you get on a statue or a vinyl figure. Yeah, you can see more of my work at my DeviantArt or my main website, sketchcraft.com. Yeah. I intentionally kept this more like a figurine, more fun. How do I know where to use thick and thin lines? Wherever I want things to pop out. The more bold something is, the more it pops out. The more I want it to fall into the art, the thinner the line. That's why I start out with really thin lines and I add the thick where I need it to pop out. So, case in point, I traditionally inked. Where is it? Should be right here, and it isn't. Where did I set it down? Here it is. I traditionally linked this war piece from Darksiders not too long ago, and you can see, right, like how it kind of all falls together. You know, this is a little less graffiti. This is more like, I don't know, ZBrushy, but it's cartoon shapes. I draw cartoony, one way or the other. Whoop. That might have been the last time I actually inked a drawing, too. It's been a couple months. I appreciate it, Lenny. Thank you. Glad you can make the stream. Can you make a living off art? Yes, it's just hard. It's really hard. You can make a great side living, though. If you don't have any real desire to hang out and go to parties and everything. If you enjoy sitting at home creating, you can definitely make a good side art that one day might be able to translate to full-time work. I mean, I've been doing it full-time since 2005, but there are lean years, there are plump years, you know, and it requires a dual income because of the fluctuation, you know? One way or the other. I mean, if you really want to make money, you know, there are easier ways. So I'd be doing this whether I was getting paid to or not, you know? Basically it. So. And a lot of my early work wasn't even drawing, it was graphic design, which kind of went away. So, and I'm always planning for like, well, maybe this will be the last year I do concept art and games because there's just no more work, you know, for me. And it does happen. Sometimes these places, they go, well, we want new talent. So, but I'll tell you what, man, like, I've done a pretty good job of like diversifying and putting my ideas, you know, pay your bills. Well, I would always put your money in finding a regular paycheck to pay bills because bills are regular, you know, and I'd use the art to put together vacation funds, you know, and retirement over time, and with the possibility of netting you some real work, you know, if I had to be realistic about it. But so long as in this country or any country where they treat art as like the thing they want to pay the least amount of money for, it's going to be difficult, you know? It's always this like sliding scale of like, whoa, we can't, it's going to cost too much for the art, so we got to pay the least amount of money, you know, for the thing that makes the whole shit happen. So it's difficult. Always has been. And if you're sick, you can't draw, so how you getting paid then, right? So I would start with that. But I'm not a guy to... I'm an introvert, so... Like I said... Anyone who tells you, well, if you're not doing it full-time, you're not a real artist, I just let them know that I'm not a real artist. You know? Yeah, I will always... I mean, now I mean, I guess now technically I would be, but I'm not against, you know, having a fucking job that takes care of fucking bills and coming home and knocking out the kind of art I want to knock out and building a great side job. Considering my father always worked 2 jobs, he owned his own company and he owned his own security company and did security at a hospital during the day to have health insurance, you know? So it's like, I can definitely come home and hustle my own art, you know? But full-time's tough because a lot of companies don't pay on time, and you have to have constant multiple projects in the loop, and you're not sleeping. There's an element of luck to any creative endeavor or career. And like anything that involves luck, luck can run out. Yeah, I would not go to an art school if I were you. Stay out of debt. Go to community college, you know, if you can. Get it paid for in full. Generally speaking, a lot of artists who need money get community college art jobs. So a lot of the teachers at community colleges, especially in metropolitan areas, are filled with really good artists. But any school that, I mean, there are great schools out there that just, like Atelier schools, or, but even like a Cal Arts or a Pasadena College of Art Center design, I mean, like, you're paying $250,000, man, and I just can't, on with interest. I don't recommend that. You know, seriously, I don't. You can do it, but Sketchcraft warned you. I paid my student loans on time every fucking day until the recession happened. And it bumped my student loans from 41,000 that I borrowed to 71,000. And it took both my parents passing away and leaving me some inheritance money to pay it off every dime. And then the company went out of business. So it's like they went out of business, but I don't get my money back, you know? So, and they didn't teach me how to do any of this shit. Matter of fact, they made me want to. I always thought the thing that would make me be a real artist was going to art school and getting a full-time job making art. And the two things that made me want to quit art was going to art school and getting a full-time job making art. Sad to say. It's been a fun career, man. You know, take the knocks. I've had some nice wins the last few years, but I always prepare for the worst. You know, when I first started um, pursuing this, uh, the kinds of things that I made for myself, like comics that I'd create and write, were things that were smaller and like personal, and um, they weren't very mainstream looking. I'd write about kids that ran around in a park at night, or got stuck with their sisters going to, you know, flag corps fucking championships and playing role-playing games with themselves and arguing. Like, it's the kind of shit I wrote and created. And then I got into like pitching these comics to companies, and they just weren't interested in any of that sort of shit. So I spent a lot of time like changing what I would naturally do to sell projects or get work. And I would not do that again, you know? If I could go back and change anything, I would definitely not do that. Like, whatever is popular when you're in school will not be popular when you get out of school, or will be what get you work 5 years later, 10 years later. What's going to get you work is how you think. It's how you create. If you're making stuff for yourself or if you're making stuff for someone else, it's how you think. When you become literally just essentially a tool, like I'm just going to, this is popular, so I'm going to make a bunch of this because that's what's going to get the money. Never works out in the long end, man. You know, and then when those companies go out of business, then you just got a portfolio full of shit where you just look like everyone else, and they're like, well, why should I pay you? You'll sit in a room, as I have many times, and they'll ask, well, why do we pay you instead of paying this person? You know, like, what makes you so fucking different? What did you bring to any of the table? So stuff like this is not stuff that I think any company would ever hire me to do, but they would look at it and know, oh, he can do this. Oh, he thinks like that. So I got a version of Mando that's super thin that'll go right along this, that I'm doing on my own. So that way I can sit there and go, well, here's how I executed this particular project. Here's what I brought to it. Here's what I thought. I did this. I changed this. And then on this one, I changed this, and I did this, and I did that. You know, so like, it's how I thought. It's not, you know, becoming a cog where you're just churning out a bunch of shit. They're gonna pay you to churn out a bunch of shit, so you know, like that's. But when it comes to things that you make on your own, they should always reflect how you think. You know, let people pay you money to, you know, compromise. But when it comes to your own art and your own creations, even if you're doing fan art, don't compromise on your vision. Unless you're doing that thing where you're like, that's my style, because you have a limit in drawing. You know, like there is a certain extent where style is a form of our limitations, but a lot of times people draw a certain way because they're too chicken shit to learn how to draw things. You know, I don't know how to draw hair, so I'm going to make up a way to draw hair. As opposed to say, I learned how to draw hair, now here's how I do different shapes. Here's the way I draw hair on this piece because here's my shape design language. Like, that's a whole nother conversation. Those are very difficult degrees of conversations to have too, you know? Because every one of them comes with a plethora of asterisks, you know? I'm working on a comic now. Well, it's a novel comic hybrid, kind of like a light novel, but with more comic book pages. That I know is something that will never fly if I put it in front of publishers. And I know because I've put it in front of publishers before. They will never go for it. And that's where creatively for my own work I want to be. I want to be on that edge of making things that they would never go for. I would say this, man, like, even if you don't have a following, all you need is one person. All you need is one person. I got the gig on Spyro because one person, an art director, saw a piece of fan art I did on DeviantArt, and I don't have the largest following on DeviantArt, and I'm told DeviantArt is dead. So I put my art everywhere where I know it's popular, you know, as much as I can. So it's Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, ArtStation, DeviantArt. And step and repeat and hope for the best and push every time I'm doing something. I push, you know. Push myself. And you need to, there's a certain level of luck. Because even when you get the opportunities, then, you know, will you fuck it up? Or will the people who hired you, will they be pleased with the stuff that you make? Hard to say, you know? I've had plenty of opportunities, and then I get them, and they're like, we hate this. I'm like, then why did you, what? You know? So, like, the thing that carries me through a lot of it is just, what was the goal for this project? You know, did I meet the goal for myself and or for the client? If I meant for the client, they still hate it, but I'm like, well, that's what you told me to make. I don't know. You know, like that's a complex conversation to have. There's too many variables to keep it a little surfacey. Again, I would just say that, you know, push your own work. How you create, right? And understand that it's just not going to resonate with everyone. That's fine. You know, I started doing these like really weird looking watercolors 10 years ago because I was so fed up with making really clean and perfect art. And I have had people who just, they love it or they fucking hate it. Like, that's it. There's no in between. You know, I've had friends, people that I consider friends, make fun of it to my face. Like my anus is bleeding jokes. I've gotten those. And I've had other people who only like that. I've had people who work in the industry commission me. I did a Hulk Logan, Old Man Logan piece. That was for the senior lighting director at Industrial Light and Magic, John Powell, who is recently retired. But he was senior lighting on Revenge of the Sith and all the Transformers films. You know, like you never know who you're going to inspire, you know, or resonate with. But you can't get there if you don't have emotion in your own personal work. You have to put the emotion into your personal work. How you draw it fluctuates. And it changes. Perfect. Start small. You know? That's exactly it. People who spend all the time shitting on other people's art just can't fucking do shit themselves. You know? It's one of the reasons, too, why we did the podcast where we talk about things we love or what we're watching. I don't like doing reviews because it's like, well, if I say something didn't work for me, then they're going to be like, oh, Rob thinks that that's how shit should be, you know? And I didn't fucking like... I don't like... There's movies that I love that you will hate. Okay? I guarantee it. There's going to be some shit I love that you hate. But then that thing that I loved that you hate inspired me to make something that you love. Let me give you an example. I don't really fucking like Flash Gordon serials from the 30s, right? But I love Kurosawa films. George Lucas was inspired by Flash Gordon and Kurosawa. So he put the Flash Gordon bits into Star Wars. I love Star Wars. Don't fucking like Flash Gordon. I don't like Ming the Merciless. Don't give a shit. But that thing he loved, he put into something later on that I loved. Imagine if George Lucas had a podcast in the 70s trying to explain that to fucking people. You know? They wouldn't hear it. Podcast name. All the podcasts are in a playlist on the YouTube channel. If you want to listen to them. There's the old podcast. There's two playlists. There's the podcast, Sketchcraft Podcast, and then there's the Sketchcraft Podcast archive from 2010 to 2014. So now I don't do it. We just talk here. I don't get much out of it. I get this all the time. People are like, what's your favorite comic? I'm like, of all time? The original 80s Turtles and the Savage Dragon, Spawn and Bone. Like, those are my favorite comics. And Calvin and Hobbes. I mean, I used to buy Bone and Spawn at the same time in the 90s from the comic shop. What does feed Rob a copy? That's where people can tip me, man. Thekofi.com. But if you go to my main YouTube channel, all the playlists are there. I mean, criticizing one thing looks shitty. Yeah, I get, yeah. Look, people, in school it was like this. I had to learn this the hard way. In school, no one ever said, hey man, here's how I fucking draw. They always told me, hey man, so-and-so's a better artist. My brother's a better artist than you. Or this kid, there was a kid when I was in high school named Matt Stratton. And they'd always be like, Matt Stratton's going to get his own comic at Image. I'm like, okay, well, congratulations to Matt Stratton. You know, like, Matt never once came up to me talking shit. It was all these other kids, nor did he even know. It's just what people do. They want to create some weird competition. You know? Come to find out, one day I hung out with Matt, fucking nice guy. We both like the same comics. You know? Like, am I supposed to... When I was in college, there was my buddy Eddie. Eddie Holly. He's on Instagram. He's dope. And I'd have a teacher always fucking go, man, Eddie's this, Eddie's that, to everyone in class. And everyone hated fucking Eddie because of it. Poor Eddie never even knew. You know, till like later on, I'm like, you know, all he does is fucking talk about how great you are when everyone's trying to, they're paying money to like learn how to do shit. And he was like, fuck, you know? So it's like, great, my brothers can really draw. Good for your brother. What did you do yesterday? I'm sorry. Here's a pencil. Show me what you can do. Oh, I don't draw, man. Yeah, well. Remember that. You remember that. Be like, imagine going to karaoke night, and when everyone gets on stage pretending to sing, you go, Freddie Mercury can do that shit better, you know? Everyone doesn't have a problem getting drunk and singing poorly, but if I put 20 hours of effort into a drawing and you don't like it, I gotta hear how shitty it is, right? Gotcha. Gotcha. It's always been that way, though, man. Nothing new about that, you know? You just gotta be like, I know. I know. Think about, like, I know bands complain when people only want them to sing the same songs over and over again, but I'm like, man, dude, imagine a world where it's like a comedian. If you tell the same joke fucking twice, no one gives a shit. If I drew the same drawing a bunch of times, I get fucking knocked on. Oh, you drew the same face. Yeah, it's called I gotta get shit done, man. You don't got time to draw individual faces that are unique to every fucking piece. You know? You're out your freaking mind. It's like people who are just breaking the vibe and spreading their negativity. Yeah, but I mean, I grew up with that. I grew up in a town in Lakeside, California. You know, and it was a town known for its rodeo. They didn't really care for art unless you could draw horses and cows and shit. You know? I like drawing Mario Brothers and giant controllers. You know, so like they weren't having that. Do I like Beatles music? I like Hard Day's Night and the documentary a lot. And I like the Fab Four, the guys that do all their stuff live. I think when you hear it live, played with 5 guys, it's way better than the records. That I enjoy. Other than that, I'm more of a funk and soul kind of guy. I'm not really, you know. Same, when I warm up, I use muscle memory. Yeah. Plus, it's called fucking, like, it's just... Bro, there's only one way to draw unique faces from photos, where everyone has a unique face. Then you come to find people have similar faces? I don't know, man. I don't really care about all that. I let that go a long time ago. You know? I mean, I let that go in the 90s. So... None of these people have, you know, ever motivated me to sit down and, you know, when everyone was having Christmas fucking dinner, Rob's in his room working on the lasso tool, you know. Oh, yeah, I know. It's all good. Don't worry about that. appreciate it, Lenny. Yeah, that's basically it. You know, I remember once I was at a convention in 2006, and these kids were asking me, you know, about becoming an artist, you know, professional artist, and I was like, he had his friends with him, you know. I was like, man, you guys like fucking girls and parties and shit? And they're like, yeah, man. I'm like, dude, you love fucking hanging out with fucking rock stars and all that stuff? Yeah. I'm like, don't become a fucking artist. You know? That's right. That's when people ask me if I meditate. I'm like, that's what I'm doing when I'm drawing. You know? The real trick was learning how to talk and draw, like we're doing now. You know, that took years. Yeah, I never had art school parties, man. I was working 40 hours a week at a Kinko's while I was in school. So I could learn how to print my own stuff and get paid, you know? I just showered it. I couldn't even afford to go back to my apartment. I would shower at gyms and draw in my car when there was drawing to do or animation. When there was lab work and computer work to do, I would do it at school, or I bought a laptop eventually and did it at Kinko's. Or pull all-nighters on weekends. Yeah, well, you know, man, you can't teach quality or train. You know, it's not for everyone. That's why it's like, man, you lock people into some student loan and some interest rate that they don't have it. You know, like, and the ones that do, maybe the industry isn't supporting them. I mean, I had always had the level of commitment, but I didn't have even the raw skills to get the kind of work that I wanted out of school. You know, I got T-shirt design work, and the T-shirt design guys were even like, you know, that's a whole nother thing, man. You know, they were always like, I don't know what's the word I'm thinking of. Like everyone was like, I gotta get out of this job to get a real job, and then there was guys who were doing it forever who were like, man, this is real work. Fuck that other shit. And I was always like, I don't know, guys. You know, like, as long as the check's clear and I can go home and make my own shit, I'll do that. Have you ever used ballpoint pens? Yeah, just hurt my hands. I tend to do ballpoint when I want to shade, when I want to blend from dark to black on color pencil because the wax and the oils on the color pencils. So I'll use a zebra for that. But yeah, of course, I've used ballpoint pens. But this right here is just from years of drawing like this, and I've developed a process that I just enjoy doing it this way. So that's a look that I like, and it's a way of drawing that I enjoy. Do I have drawing lessons on the web? I have an art tips playlist, but I don't really do lessons. Just don't have the time. I'm not really a good teacher. I'm a good explainer, but a teacher's a whole nother thing. You have to like... My advice would be really focus on construction. Even if you're going to be a painter, or you're interested in painting because you need enough services. Three-dimensional construction, you know, really focus on that. And then learn to draw, learn to paint if you can, you know, digitally or traditionally. And then have at it, you know. Because if you want to draw in a different style, it's just shapes. right? You can shade, you can use realistic shapes, you can use cartoony shapes. And if you're going to paint, you still need that understructure. You need to see planes and surfaces. So if you want to do figures, perhaps gestural drawing will help too. 1 minute, 2 minute, 5 minute gestural drawings. They help build action lines and those sorts of things, which are helpful for energy and developing realistic poses. Oh, good. Blender's dope. I'm hoping the game I've been working on for the last couple years finally gets announced this year, but I don't know. I don't know. So here I'm using the blacks and the line weights just to pop things forward. And it requires me to kind of take a step back and look at what I'm doing to see how it works. Not adding lines for the sake of like adding lines. Only if I hard setting on the side doesn't. Yeah, they look, you know, I've worked on, you know, Spyro is not how I draw. They had a specific style guide. A couple lead artists, they developed a style internally, and so we kind of need things to fit this. So there's a level of concepting and then putting things on model, and that changes project to project. So having a variety helps. You know, it helps depending on the tone of the project. You know, I naturally lean more towards fun, cartoony shapes because I enjoy doing that. You know, those are the kinds of things I would like to get hired to do. You know, so I tend to make the kind of art that I would like to get paid to make. But there's always a level of modification. You know, I was really fascinated with Mega Man Legend shapes. So I started doing commissions invoking those kinds of shape designs into characters that don't normally have it, like Green Lantern, different characters. And then the Berserk Boy crew found me and picked me up to help do cutscenes for their game that gives it that Mega Man Legends kind of shape design. You know? So it is definitely possible. This sort of thing is because I would love to do statues one day. Here, look, I did, you know, figure it out. I think someone who sees this and makes statues and vinyl toys would be like, that shit's dope, we should get that guy. Who knows, maybe 6 years from now it'll pay off. Maybe it never will, but that's the idea. I did not mean to goof that up. Oh. Right now I live in Boise, Idaho. I'm from San Diego, though. I grew up in Lakeside, California, which is right outside of San Diego, about an hour. Hey, what's up, Armando? You like to sketch? Nah, I mostly like red. Sometimes I do blue, but I mostly do red. Tuca and Birdie. Nope. Later, JJ. Peace. Yeesh. Crazy, man. You know, hope it stays peaceful. Hey. Yeah, just send it to me on Facebook or whatever. Twitter's fine too. IG. it's time for my dinner. So I'll get to inking this tomorrow. I got work I gotta do tonight. Stay safe, everybody. See y'all later.